Hello everybody, it is Wednesday night, it's 7:30 and it's time for Bible bedtime stories. Tonight we are going to read from the I Am Bible Stories About the Names of God book, and we're talking about a story that happened after Jesus was resurrected. After the women found the tomb empty, they started talking to the disciples and telling the disciples that Jesus was alive. This is a familiar story because we talked about it on Monday. It's just a little bit different version of it. It's Jesus meeting his disciples on the beach, and he sends his disciples fishing. But we're going to hear a little bit more about Peter. So this is called Breakfast with Jesus. You are my friends if you do what I command you. From John 15:14. Jesus was alive again. The disciples had seen him with their own eyes. But where was he now? When would they see him again? And what were they supposed to do in the meantime? I'm going fishing, Peter said. I'll go with you, Thomas, Nathanael, James, John, and 2 other disciples said. They climbed into their fishing boat and they rowed out onto the lake. They threw their fishing nets into the water, kersplash, and then they waited and waited and waited. They waited all night, but they didn't catch any fish, not one. Just as morning came, Peter saw a man standing on the shore, but they didn't know who it was. The man called to them, "Friends, do you have any fish?" "No," they answered, "not one." "Throw your net over the right side of the boat," the man said, "and you will find some." The disciples said to one another, "I guess we could try it." They threw the big, heavy net into the water on the right side of the boat, and suddenly the net was filled with fish, lots and lots of fish. Something like this happened once before. Peter, James, and John remembered that. "That man on shore is the Lord," John said. Peter was so glad to see Jesus again that he jumped into the water and he swam to shore while the other disciples brought in the boat. There on the beach, Peter saw Jesus and a little fire. Bread and fish were warming over the fire. "Bring some of the fish you caught," Jesus said, "and let's have breakfast." So Peter pulled the net full of fish onto the beach and brought some of the fish to Jesus. When the breakfast was ready, everyone gathered around the fire, and Jesus served bread and fish to his friends. Oh, how good it was for the disciples to be with Jesus again. And then Peter heard Jesus ask, "Peter, do you love me more than these?" "You know that I do, Lord," Peter said. "Peter, do you love me?" Jesus asked again. "You know that I do, Lord," Peter said. "Peter, do you love me?" Jesus asked again. That made 3 times that Jesus had asked Peter the same question, just as Peter had denied knowing Jesus 3 times at the high priest's house. "Lord, you know everything," Peter said. "You know that I love you." "Feed my sheep," Jesus said, "and follow me." Jesus had forgiven Peter and given him important work to do. I want you to think for just a second about some of your friends. Because the disciples were Jesus' friends. And Jesus said to them, "I now call you friends." And friends know each other well. They like to do things together. They care about each other. They help each other. friends, forgive one another. And that's the kind of friend that Jesus is. Jesus is our friend when we obey his commandments and when we do what he says. He's the best friend we could ever have. I've thought a lot about this story this week. My chapel service was on this story. A devotion that we did the other night was on this story. And I've thought a lot about it this week. And I think part of why I've thought about it so much is when Jesus comes and talks to Peter, he forgives Peter for what he's done, but then he gives Peter a job to do. Right now, as we're sitting in our homes, we're doing our schoolwork or we're doing our work, and we have things to do, but it's not the same. It's not the same as how our life used to be. So I have something that I'm kind of excited about that I'm going to share with you tonight, and it's something that I want to encourage all of you to do. You all know that we haven't been able to meet together as a church or in the church building for the past 5 weeks, and that's a long time. And part of what we get when we come together for worship is we get to encourage one another. We get to hold one another up in prayer. We get to give one another hugs or high fives or shake hands or just talk to one another. But in this time when we have to be apart from each other, we have to remember that being a part of the church really is bigger than the building. I don't know about you. Maybe some of you kids know this, but I bet some of you parents know this. There was an old thing that went, you put your hands like this and you said, here's the church, here's the steeple, open the doors and see all the people. Well, now when we open the doors of the church, there's not any people inside because we all have to stay in our homes. But the great thing about being a part of God's church is that we get to be part of his church no matter where we are. So I have what I think will be a fun and exciting project for us. I'm going to turn my camera a little bit so that you can see something that I've been working on. I don't know if you can see it very well, but I have all these little houses. Well, they're not houses yet. Right now they're just pieces of wood. And I had Mr. Butts and I had David cut these for me, and they're going to cut a whole bunch more for me. And what I want you to think about when you see these is I want you to imagine that these represent the church. And when we can be together in the same building, it's like all the little houses are gathered together. And when people look at the building that we have in Grafton on Highway 60, they know that that's St. Paul's Church. Right now, we're not in that building on Highway 60. All of the little houses that make up this community right here, we're separated now. So here's what's going to happen. On Saturday afternoon, between 2 o'clock and 4 o'clock, I am going to be up at St. Paul in the drive-thru, and I want you and your family to come take a ride. I want you to pull through our carport entrance, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to give each of you a little house. I want you to take your little house home, and I want you to decorate it however you want to. Use paint, use scrapbook paper, color it with markers, use fabric. Doesn't matter, however you want to decorate it. Then I'm going to send you a little sticker along with it that has a hashtag on it. And the hashtag says Lives for Jesus or Lives for Jesus. What I want you to start thinking about and what's going to start coming out in just about a week from the pastors and from some other people at St. Paul is we're going to send some challenges to you about how you can live like Jesus and shine his light in your own little home and outside in your neighborhood. And so what we want you to do is to take this little house, decorate it, to remind you that even though you're in your homes, you're still a part of the bigger community that is St. Paul. And then when we can finally get all back together, I'm going to invite you to bring your houses back so that we can take a picture of all of our houses back together again. But I want this house, while it's in your home, to remind you that you are a light for Jesus. That Jesus has called you, just like he did Peter in our story, to feed his people and to show his love to the world around you. So, I will be sending an email to you. I will be posting it on our webpage. Saturday from 2 to 4, swing by, pick up your house, and I will have an information sheet with it as well. But now I think it's about time we say our bedtime prayer. So if you would fold your hands and pray with me. Dear Jesus, thank you for today and for all of the things that you give to us. Help us remember, even though we are at home, even though we can't come to church, we are still the church. Help us to know how we can show your love to everyone we meet and how we can shine your light in this world. Jesus, we love you. Amen. I hope that you are excited about this little project. I can't wait to see you on Saturday and wave to you through your car window as I give you your houses. If you have questions about our project, go ahead and have your mom and dad email me, but there'll be an instruction sheet that I'll put out as well. There'll be some information that'll come to you in email. There'll be also some information that will come to you on Facebook and on the website. Remember that if you need anything, you know where to find me. Have a great night, guys, and we'll see you all soon. Bye.